Ben, heading straight into the transfers, a lot of news coming out this week about Chelsea, especially with Raheem Sterling and his interest, or Tuchel's interest in Raheem Sterling. We all know he's an experienced winner at Manchester City. He's won everything except the greatest prize in football, in European football, the Champions League. Is it the right call to pay what Man City are asking, which at the moment seems to be around £50 million for Raheem Sterling, and bring him at Chelsea, and in a team which already has an influx of wingers, is what I believe, with Pulisic being there, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Hakim Ziyech, Werner being able to play in that position. And we know the way Chelsea play, Mount always takes up one of those spots with, a striker in there. So is it the right choice for Tuchel?
Well, I think that Chelsea need goals. That's the first thing to say. And let's not forget that whether it's 60 million, 50 million, or 35 million, which seems to be the relatively low starting fee, though there may well be add-ons that take that a lot higher. But whatever you pay for Sterling, you're getting a 27-year-old with proven experience. And even last season, where people perhaps felt that he wasn't playing as often, his total games was 47 comparative to 49 the season before, and early 50s the 2 seasons before that. So he's equally as integral over the last 4 seasons at Manchester City, and his goal output remains relatively high. It's not quite where it was in 1920, where I think he scored 31 goals in all competitions, but he still scored 17 goals and 13 in the Premier League. And those 13 goals or more, 15, 20, make a big difference as far as Chelsea.
It's a lot higher than, I know I'm cutting you off, I'm sorry about that, but it's a lot higher than any of the wingers that we've currently got at the club. And it's way higher, which is quite, as a Chelsea fan, it does seem like it's the right move.
Yeah, I mean, he's given a fair amount of freedom and he's played in a lot of different roles at Manchester City. So he'll get goals because he's encouraged to play centrally and cut into the box, whereas perhaps some of Chelsea's wingers are asked to stick wider and provide a few more assists. But in Sterling, you get that versatility, and it would be up to Thomas Tuchel to work out how he would be played in the system and alongside whom. And then as far as other wingers are concerned, I think it's fair to say that if Sterling was to come in, one of the wide players that you mentioned would have to leave the football club, and Chelsea are quite prepared to do that. So Sterling makes a lot of sense because you fill a goal void and you therefore replace the goals that the departing Lukaku, even though there were only 8 in the Premier League, got last season. You get a 27-year-old who's right at his peak, and you have a focal point that can hopefully help Chelsea close the gap between where they are now and Liverpool and Manchester City. So the challenge with Sterling at the moment is twofold. One, that he hasn't actually made his mind up what he wants to do, and 2, negotiating a fee with Manchester City. And I think that Manchester City are highly likely to want the same fee as a minimum that they get for Gabriel Jesus, which is likely to be in the early 40 millions, or maybe even as high as 45 million, and still potentially add-ons on top. So whether it ends up being the 60 million price tag that Manchester City started asking for, or down to 50 million, or a little bit lower, they'll still have that outlay because there'll be add-ons on top of that. And those add-ons may not all need to be paid. Manchester City could turn around and say, well, if you go on and qualify for the Champions League, we want 5 million. And then in all likelihood, Chelsea would have to pay that. But they could say, if Sterling scores you 15 Premier League goals, we want 7 million. Or they could even offset the fact that if Chelsea win the Premier League at the expense of Manchester City with Sterling scoring goals, they want 15 million. It is unclear at this stage. And that is just normal and part of a negotiation process. But I think as a bare minimum, the outlay for Sterling will be the same as the outlay for Jesus. And I think as a combination, Manchester City want at least 90 million for both players. Otherwise, they're not prepared to entertain talks. And right now, I think that Chelsea's position, which you'd expect as a starting position because there is gamesmanship to it, is hang on a minute, if Sadio Mane goes to Bayern Munich for more like 35, then how is it that Raheem Sterling, with his contract running down, is a 60 million player? And somewhere down the line, they'll compromise. But I think that there is a willingness from both clubs to negotiate this deal. Sterling is quite prepared to move to London. He knows at Chelsea that he's got Champions League football. So this is a transfer that's looking more and more likely, but Sterling still hasn't made up his mind. So there's work to be done. There's a fee to be agreed, and then there is negotiation with the player himself. So this isn't something that is going to be imminent in the next few days or week. But as we get into early July and pre-season starts, then I think Chelsea see themselves as the front runners for this particular deal.